The use of peer group sessions to support learning is on the rise in higher education. Using tutors to work with groups of students is not only an efficient use of academic support resources, but also a highly effective one. Peer tutors speak the student's language. They are able to answer questions and make explanations at a level that is appropriate for the practiced vocabulary and academic background of the student. Also, when peer tutors are properly trained, they can take advantage of the dynamics of the group situation to facilitate important discussions that are often missing from traditional classrooms. The same tutoring and leadership strategies can be used in small group sessions with 2 or 3 students, or with large groups of 30 or 40. In this module, we will explain the benefits of group learning sessions, the typical operating modes and structures of group sessions, and the qualities needed for effective group session leadership. In Module 2, you will see examples of the many skills utilized by group leaders in conducting productive group sessions. Module 3 contains several examples for you to see leaders using the group session skills in context of longer session segments. In Module 4, we'll show you clips from group sessions and ask you to critique the session leaders. Let's start with the benefits of group learning sessions. Responses from student surveys point to benefits both inside and outside the sessions. When we interviewed session leaders Jason and Eva, they mentioned these same benefits. During the sessions, students like the fact that they have control over the content and pace.
Should be asking the students, what do you want to learn, what do you need help with, and not just assuming that he or she, the tutor, knows where the student's needing help, but should really ask, what is it that you're confused about, what do you want to do, how would you like me to present this, and really giving them the chance to shape the session. And often I'll make a list on the board of topics that students suggest so that I can make sure I cover all of them.
Students like being able to interact with their peers in the sessions.
People talk to each other, and if someone doesn't understand something in a group, then that other person explains it to them, where the person who's explaining it to them learns something, and then the person who's hearing what they're being explained understands it better.
When one student teaches another, they learn so much. And when there's that comfort between working with somebody who's struggling the same way you are as opposed to asking somebody a question that already knows the answer.
We'll do a little group, break up the session into maybe like 2 or 3 people, 5 groups of that, and we'll just, I'll be like, this is a problem, everybody work on it for 5 minutes, see what you can do with it.
And if there's a mistake, in a group of 3 or more, usually somebody's going to catch it, and I really don't have to say anything, which is ideal.
Students enjoy the relaxed atmosphere of a peer-led discussion.
The environment that is created is very open for questions to be asked and to work problems out, and I think that's really important. Having an environment where it's very informal and the students feel very comfortable asking questions and really getting the material very reinforced for them, so when they go home they can study it by themselves.
Typical session, I'll start with not talking about the subject, but with just, getting the students relaxed, asking them how they're doing, getting them comfortable so it's not just a class.
No matter how wrong somebody is, don't make them feel bad for answering a question wrong. Every question is a good question and every answer is a good answer.
Students appreciate the opportunity for guided practice in the sessions.
Well, some things that I've done, as they work problems, they tend to, refer to the book or refer to an example problem every step of the way. And so sometimes after I've worked with them, I'll say, close your books now, we're going to do this problem without being able to look at the chart or without being able to look at that example. You just have to solve the problem just like it would be on the test.
I would say, okay, does anyone have any questions on homework? That's the first thing. And then if anyone does, we'll go over it. And then I'll have problems ready to back those other problems up so they have something else to follow through, so they're just not copying down something. So we'll work through the homework and then we'll do something related to that.
If they wanted to do problems, then I might put one up on the board and have them get in pairs and work together on it, and then go around, see what questions they have, see who feels comfortable with it.
Students say that group sessions can make learning more interesting.
I found one semester I kind of did the same thing every day. I kind of got quickly bored of what I was doing. So then I would try and create games. That's the thing I like to do is games, because I think a lot of people have fun with that. and like I do Jeopardy. And
What students do in the group sessions can also help them outside the sessions. In the sessions, students learn skills that help them in studying, problem solving, and preparing for tests.
I kind of tell students to, listen for things like this in class and make sure you emphasize that in your notes. And other things you cannot, you shouldn't emphasize on your notes.
Really developing a way of thinking, more than just teaching them how to memorize, but really teaching them how to think and how to problem solve. If you can pass on those skills of how to solve basic types of problems, I think that's really important and key.
Students also report that attending group sessions improves their motivation for doing all the things they need to do to succeed in the course.
I think that attending sessions can motivate students, first off, like I said, if they know that somebody really cares about how they do. I think that motivates a student.
You need to be kind of like a motivator. I mean, if you can motivate your students to study.
Also, the more that they can interact with other students and maybe other students push them a little harder, I think that helps too. That's something you don't get with individual tutoring, but the more that the other students can push them to succeed, I think that helps.
Group sessions are usually operated in whole group format, where the leader and the students all focus on one idea at a time. This format allows one student to pose a question and the other students to think over the question and try to answer it. This mode can also be used to help students with problem-solving strategies.
Okay, so we're working on number 50 in chapter 11, right?
In doing so, good session leaders work to make sure that all students are actively involved. They avoid performing any task that could be done by a student. Let's listen to Megan.
Jason, will you read that for me?
A horizontal 800 Newton merry-go-round is a solid disc of radius 140.
In Module 2, you'll see examples of a wide variety of strategies that are used to facilitate discussions in whole group mode. For now, let's watch Megan as she keeps the student ideas flowing in this session.
Find the kinetic energy of the solid cylinder after 2.97 seconds.
Okay, good. Okay, so somebody can give me an idea of what's going on?
You're looking for the kinetic energy.
Okay, of what?
Cylinder.
Of a cylinder, that's what's happening to a cylinder.
It's rotating around.
Later, Megan leads the students through the recommended steps for solving physics problems, but she forces the students to tell her what to write.
So if I'm going to draw a picture of what's going on here, what should I draw? Okay. And what else?
Tangent.
Right. Does it matter where?
I don't think so.
Yeah, not in this problem, right? Tell me what all information they're giving me in this problem.
Radius.
Okay. And what does the book say the radius is?
1.5 meters.
To operate successfully in whole group mode, leaders must resist the urge to lecture. Leaders must also avoid answering their own questions.
Okay. What else have I got?
This means giving the students time to think and time to respond.
It starts from rest.
Okay. So what does that mean?
The initial velocity is 0.
Okay. Which kind of velocity?
Angular.
So as you can see, in whole group mode, the idea is to model good problem-solving strategies while encouraging students to do the actual work. When students come to sessions with very different concerns, it may be more productive for the leader to move around the room, working with students individually. This approach should be used only when necessary, since it does not take full advantage of the group setting. Sometimes the session leader may initially assign students a few problems to work for a few minutes to get them actively involved with key concepts. This strategy is often used to prepare students for an upcoming test. Let's see how Sonia begins.
So that being said, looking at page 13-15, we're going to do some examples.
Also, listen as Sonia reminds the students about the different possible ways they might see a certain type of problem on the test.
Things. She can give you the names of the reactants, and you have to give the names of the products. She can give you the names of the products, and you have to give the names of the reactant. She can give you the formulas, and you have to write the formulas of the product or the reactants, whichever one she gives you.
Sonia writes an example problem on the board. Now listen to her instructions to the group.
What would be the product? You work them out on your paper. Try to the best of your ability to work them out on your paper. And she gave you a shortcut in class of what to do. So think about it first. Then if you're stuck, ask someone next to you.
Sonia's strategy is twofold. First, she wants students to attempt to work the problems by themselves, so they'll discover what test material they already know fairly well and in what areas they may still need help. Second, as we see here,
You supposed to show what it forms?
If you're not sure, ask someone next to you.
students often need to be reminded that they should look to each other for help. Peers are the most accessible source of assistance available to students. The use of peers for assistance is a smart strategy in college and a valuable professional skill for the future. Later, when discussing the problem in whole group, Sonia continues to emphasize the importance of peer assistance by redirecting a question.
How do you know which one's the functional group? I don't know how you determine that.
How, someone want to answer that? Dan, you want to answer that? How do you know which one's the functional group?
Because of the alcohol components.
Right.
This mode of operation provides students with useful practice and helps the leader to understand what students know and don't know. Note that it also allows for both peer assistance and individual assistance by the session leader. A slightly varied strategy is for the leader to divide students into groups and assign different problems to the different groups.
Can all you guys, like in the back, like move up some, because I'm going to like divide you into 4 groups. And I'm going to put synthesis up here. Yeah, come on. It's easier so you can talk to everybody else.
Here, Jennifer tells the students to attempt all the problems. This ensures that the students are working productively during the entire time.
These 2 rows right here, you guys did number 1. I want everybody to do all of them, but you guys are responsible for coming up here and explaining and drawing it.
The students benefit from the interaction of working together on the problems. This is also a time when students can receive individual assistance from the leader. During the problem-solving time, all students should be able to get assistance from someone, either a group member or the leader. After students have had time to work on some of the problems, a student from each group is called to put the group's work on the board. The student at the board may need help from the other group members.
But what's it over? What is it?
Ask
Yes. You got it.
The other group members help by offering suggestions for completing the work in progress.
It just needs to be. Just put acetone when you have NAI.
On a VR and go ahead and add it.
Well, you actually can do that to the second step. Like, you can make that the second step. Like, write that underneath it.
Later, the leader calls on a group member to explain the solution.
Group 1. Some explanation. Someone go through step by step.
It's usually better for the student to go to the board in order to be heard clearly.
Here, so you don't have to point. It'll make it easier.
We're taking an alkyne and then we're making it into an acetylide so that it will react with this to make our new alkene.
Leaders can make clarifications if necessary, but in this example, Jennifer doesn't need to add anything to the student's explanation. Next, she takes questions from the other students and referees the process of student interaction that follows.
Okay. Any questions about number 1? Yes.
Okay. Anytime there's an alkyne and you want to add carbon, that's pretty much basically it.
Mm-hmm. But what kind of alkyne do you have to add carbon? Yes.
So, depending on the characteristics of the group and the type of content being covered, the leader chooses the mode in which to operate. The usual operating modes include discussions in whole group format and floating one-on-one assistance by the leader. Leaders may choose to provide more structure in the beginning of sessions by assigning students the same problems to work or by assigning groups of students different problems. By choosing appropriate operating modes, good session leaders ensure that each student gets a chance to work with relevant course material and has ample opportunity to discuss concerns about the content. What kind of student makes a good group session leader? Besides solid content knowledge, the most important characteristics seem to be a desire to help others and a willingness to learn the skills needed to conduct productive learning sessions. We asked session leaders Jason and Eva to describe some other important qualities of an effective leader.
It's important to be approachable. It's important to never make a student feel bad for having the wrong answer.
Patience is the one. That's probably one of the biggest ones because, I mean, you know, you have your other courses you have to worry about, and some days you're really stressed out with what's going on in your life, and when you come into a session and you have all these students demanding something, you know, not demanding, but they are wanting your help and personal attention, it can really drain you.
It's so important to have a sense of humor, and that's my own personality that comes out, but whatever the leader's personality is, it should come out so that the students feel like they're really having a relationship with that person.
You really want to care about the job. I mean, if you're going in there and you don't care about the students, you're not going to be successful. I mean, the students aren't going to learn very much, and they're not going to want to be there.
You care about how well they do on the test. That's really important to them because most of them, you know, in previous years they've been told in college nobody's going to care how you do, but if they can find that in you, that you really care about their success, I think